Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Pluto transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Pluto will traverse a house for approximately 21 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Pluto will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Pluto will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, the first thing I'll look at when Pluto transits one's natal ninth house, this could be about a very strong, powerful transformation, perhaps in connection with one's philosophy and their outlook. Now, it could also be a time when one has this transit that, as far as the philosophy goes, maybe it may be connected with something Pluto-like. It could be maybe tied into astrology, the supernatural, the occult. There could be some strong philosophy connected with death, perhaps with sex even. And the ninth house is also associated with in-laws and grandchildren. Now, Pluto can be about power struggles. Could it be perhaps a power struggle might ensue with in-laws and grandchildren? Can the relationship become contentious, perhaps with one or more in-laws and grandchildren, if applicable, if you do have them? The propensity for this can increase as far as this transit goes. And also, Pluto is associated with death. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear the dreaded D word, but however, Pluto is over death. The ninth house is connected with in-laws and grandchildren. So can the propensity for death of one or more in-laws or grandchildren can increase marginally. What this could be too, though, during this time is that when you look at Pluto can be about obliteration and destruction. It could be also about rebirth. If say you didn't have a good rapport with your in-laws and grandchildren, or one or more of these, one or both of these things, then maybe this is a time where the relationship might improve. However, if you were very compatible with in-laws and grandchildren before the transit started, then maybe this relationship might be transformed to some degree, and maybe the relationship might dissipate a little bit during this time, or one or more or in-laws and grandchildren might simply have a very strong transforming effect on you during this transit. Now, the ninth house is also associated with religion. And perhaps you might go through a transformation connected with religion during this time. It might be a time where maybe you leave one religion or one religious belief. You might go to a different congregation during this time, or church. Perhaps this is a time, as far as this transit goes, where one religion in your mind you basically obliterate, and then you go to another one. And really, this could be a period too, where, as far as religion goes, that in philosophy, that you don't, you have to be careful about becoming overly forceful and borderline indoctrinating somebody in terms of philosophy and religion. Pluto can be about obsession and fixation, and sometimes it can make one overly forceful in that particular house that it's transiting. So it's okay to try to talk to somebody about your philosophy, about what your religious beliefs are, but not being overly forceful regarding these things. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. And the ninth house is also associated with higher education. And remember that Pluto can be about obliteration and death. Now, does this mean if you're involved in some college or university, some post-high school studies, is this going to end during this time? Well, in many cases, it probably won't, although the chances can increase marginally that you might, perhaps you might end your post-high school studies during this time, and perhaps maybe something does come to an end or some completion during this time. As far as this goes, it might simply mean maybe this during this transit, something that you're taking in college might come to that conclusion. And it could also mean that maybe during this time maybe you're very strongly transformed through what you learn through higher education. And it could also be during this time, keep in mind that the ninth house, okay, is also about it's about traveling abroad, long distance traveling. And keep in mind that Pluto is connected really with death. Now, does this mean you're going to die on some long distance journey? Well, most likely not, but I think this propensity or that potential can increase as far as this transit goes, because remember that Pluto is also about what's nefarious. It's over terrorism, and many of you may know about the ISIS warnings. And so if you have this transit right now, I would be exceptionally prudent and careful regarding long distance traveling for those reasons. Now, the ninth house is also about abstract thinking, and Pluto can be very deep, and it could be a time where you might go through a lot of profound and deep abstract thinking, or something connected with Pluto, like things such as death, such as psychology, astrology, the supernatural, and the occult. And these things might be tied in to abstract thinking during this time. Well, anyway, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points that this could impact the transit. Now, let's say that you have transiting Pluto making a conjunction to your natal Saturn. Well, this might be a period where you become strongly fixated and obsessed with responsibilities. And being in the ninth house, these responsibilities may be tied in perhaps to in-laws, to grandchildren, and even perhaps to something connected with your religion or your church, perhaps, congregation. Another example, let's say that transiting Pluto is making a sextile or trine to your natal Uranus. Now, this could indicate a strong need for change, which may be combined with ingenuity. Now, being in the ninth, this might be tied in perhaps to philosophy and even abstract thinking. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Pluto transiting the ninth house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Pluto transiting the 10th house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, a person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.